You realize at some point you really have to make a decision, like, is this working? Do I enjoy this? Even if it is working, right? Do I enjoy this? And if I don't enjoy it, is it sustainable? Like, do I want to keep doing it? And then I think the other part of that conversation is, if I make the change, what are going to be the ripple effects? What's going to happen to all of the customers and the clients that I've built, and the relationships that I've built, because I started down this path, and this path was working. I am really like considering changing something that's working. So today's video, I want to talk about something that I have really been trying to navigate through when it comes to small business events like pop-ups and what's next. So a little background about me. I am a career and organizational coach, and I'm also a technical project manager and a business analyst. So I infuse all of those different acumens into my stationery business. What started out as really just a tool for awareness has really become a machine in itself. Like, if you are thinking about doing pop-up markets, vendor markets, craft shows, things like that, you really need to plan for, like, what's the long game for being part of these types of events? What does that look like for you and your business? Do you plan on being at these events all the time? I think one thing that's great is also something that has become exhausting, and I don't know if I really enjoy it anymore. But when different event hosts find out about your brand, and they see that you do well, or just by word of mouth, right? Like, people talking about the things that you're doing and the products that you sell, and people really enjoy them. You end up at a lot of events, which is great because you make really good money if you have a customer following. But I didn't start down this path to have it become like all consuming. I have significantly scaled back on my vendor market season this year, simply because I feel like um, I'm burnt out. I feel like I'm burnt out. I chose not to outsource any of my stationery products. I chose to make the majority of the items that we sell. So all of our workbooks and desk pads and things like that, they're all constructed by hand. So that takes a long time. And granted, as our business has grown, so has our technology and our equipment have grown. So yes, things are able to be done a lot faster. However, selling out is great, but then selling out is it's challenging, right? Because when you've got back-to-back events, and I still have my full-time job, and as much as I want to retire, I haven't. And I'm not sure if I can accomplish that as quickly as I want to. I don't think it's going to take me a long time to make that decision. Um, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to accomplish retiring completely from my full time job. But I also feel like I need to consider Do I need to hire somebody? And the other thing is I'm really controlling. So that is working against me for sure because I don't really trust I don't trust people to do things the way that I want them done all the time. It's my own personal development growth journey that I'm on, trying to delegate. But, it is what it is. But anyway, so I say all of that because I really want to talk about um, making the decision to go into um, anything for that matter, and then deciding that you've gone as far as you want to go, you've gone as far as you can go or you should go, and then kind of trying to recalibrate, right? Like taking a beat, figuring out, is this really what I want to do? Or when you realize that this is not really the way that you want to do something, making a decision to switch it up, right? Like just changing your mind and choosing to start over. Like this has been something that I've really been like thinking about, a lot lately. Like what does starting over look like? And does starting over mean starting from zero? Or does it mean that you're starting from the point that something last felt good, right? For me, I think it's starting from a point in time when things made the most sense, when things were the most comfortable, I was the most confident, and I was not exhausted. I was not exhausted. And don't get me wrong, I don't want this to sound like I hate vendor markets because I really don't. The small business vendor community is absolutely amazing here in the Charlotte area. I love all of the business owners and creatives that I've met. I've collaborated, just absolutely enjoy. Um, it's just the, I don't know, I think it's just the demand of the markets. And all of these things are by choice, right? You book your calendar, you take on the markets, you do whatever you do. And so none of these are like, an affront or a shade to the markets or whatever. But this is really about, I think when you've gone so far down a path and you recognize, like, oh, shoot, this is kind of taking on a life of its own. Um, you know, is this the machine that I want to be a part of? And so, what does that look like? Do you end up scaling back from something? Do you cut it off completely? Do you kind of forget or try to remember the things that you stopped doing because, you were just focused on this? And I think that's really the big thing is the markets for me have really become all consuming. They've taken on a life of its own. So, things that were really important to me and still are, I've had to take time to go back and reassess my ecom. When I started my business, I was completely ecom. Even my coaching and development services were all virtual, and I was doing really well. I was doing really well. I really stopped doing a lot of those one-on-one things for a number of reasons, but one is just time, right? Because vendor markets are very, very time consuming. And I think, I don't know, for me, I feel like, is this part of a bigger conversation about really small businesses and the work that it takes to just maintain them? Because I even considered my own storefront, but then, just going back and forth, I don't know if that's the solution either. And so vendor markets really kind of become that storefront opportunity for a lot of small business owners. But then there are all the things that come with that sometimes, is it's a hit or it's a huge miss. All the work that you do to kind of prepare for a market, God forbid it rains or some weather issue, you're not getting your money back. And some of these markets are not cost effective. They are expensive. And I don't even know why they're so expensive because sometimes the venues ain't hitting. The foot traffic is non-existent, or the demographic for that market is not your demographic. They're not your customer. Sometimes event hosts, you know, I'm gonna say they lie because they lie, right? They will attach themselves to existing events that are happening, and tell you, the business owner, like, oh, we're going to have like 10,000 people here for this event, and we have blah, blah, blah. But what they're not telling you is, oh, this ain't our event. Somebody just paid us to be, a vendor, and we're going to be set up like a mile away from the actual event, and people are showing up to the actual event, walking by like, oh, that's cute, what are those tents over there, like what are those people selling, but we need to hurry up because the concert's about to start or the race is about to start or whatever. So um, there's a huge learning curve with vendor market events, because if the event is not specific to the market, you may or may not ever see a customer, and you're out there for like 6 to 8 hours, depending on the event. And God forbid it's a 3-day event that's like part of a festival. To me, those are almost the worst, right? Because usually festival events, people have paid to be part of the festival. They have not paid an entry fee to come and shop. And granted, people are going to shop at a festival, but it's usually like festival related stuff. I'm going to buy food. I'm going to get like festival t-shirts and things like that. People are not coming to buy your wood carved bird feeder. Like, it's cute. And in some other venue, at some other function, you're going to sell out of your products because they're beautiful and they're amazing. However, at the 1980s music festival, probably not. But here's why, right? Because bags won't be allowed at the festival. You're going to have clear, whatever. You can't bring outside food in the festival. So how are people going to shop with you? How are people going to carry around their wooden bird feeder at this festival that they plan to be at for the next 3 days? They're not. It's not going to happen. So, doing a lot of things to get prepared for a lot of these markets, it just ends up just kind of falling flat. And you're spending a lot of time and energy and effort to really kind of show up and be, the best version of you and your business, and to represent your business and your brand, at these markets. And, that's what's happening. Like, it was almost like the market really never planned for you. And honestly, in a lot of these cases, that's the truth. These event hosts really just they're planning to get their fees. They're planning to pay, for whatever it is that they contracted to pay. And then that's it, and then you're kind of left to deal with whatever you're left to deal with. And sometimes it is a huge win, but then sometimes it is not a huge win. And you've spent a lot of money and time and energy and effort preparing for something that may or may not happen. So all of those things have really kind of forced me to kind of recalibrate how Hayward and Love moves forward, and really kind of remember the things that I enjoyed about my business. And so I've needed to take a step back just to figure out, how do I get back to, the things that I really love about my business, and the things that, I don't love as much as I used to in this particular season. Like, how do I make the adjustment? So that's really where I am. And so that's what today's chit chat is all about. And so I'm really curious, if you are a small business and you do, you're a product seller, and, have you done vendor markets or farmers markets or things like that? Like, what's been your experience? Do you absolutely love them? I absolutely loved them in the beginning. Or are you also feeling like, sometimes I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And you're thinking about, dialing it back, But then if that's the case, like how do you still push awareness, right? Because the markets are great for marketing. I'm not even gonna lie, they're great for marketing. Um, you meet customers, you get to stand there with people, they get to touch your products, you can explain, the history behind it, just all kinds of things. It's such a wonderful opportunity to grow your business. But then when your business starts growing, the demand for the markets, it almost feels like a drug, right? Like we've gotten to this level, we got to keep doing the markets. We got to stick in the markets. And that's really not how this all started. And for me, I know it's not how it's supposed to continue. The markets really should be, they should be almost an accent. They should complement the other efforts and the other offerings that my business has. They should not be the end all be all. So yeah, I'm really kind of curious, like, if y'all are in the market scene, like, what's your experience? Like, what do you, how are you feeling? Do you love it? Do you really kind of build your entire business around vendor markets? Or are you just like, I feel like I need to scale them back just so I can have some room to breathe and prepare and, figure out, how I'm going forward. Listen, the truth is that anytime you make a decision to start over or make any kind of changes, right, there's going to be some impact. There's definitely going to be a ripple effect. Your current customer base may not like the changes that you're making and choose not to be your customer anymore. Even restarting like things like my email list, they're changing. They're changing because I announced to my subscribers that I was going to be doing things differently. And immediately after saying that, my analytics proved that I had a dip in my subscriber base. So, I mean, we know what change does, right? Change is ultimately always for the better, but while you're making changes, it feels uncomfortable, and it feels wrong. And so I think this conversation that I'm having about starting over or just reassessing things, it's difficult and it's challenging simply because people won't necessarily understand why you're doing things differently, and as a result, they may not want to continue on with you forward in your journey. And I think this is an applicable lesson to any part of your life, right? When you start making changes, you have to make changes and be confident that the changes that you're making are about you and what works best for you. And the things that are going to support you and the things that surround you, right? You can't really make significant changes or impacts or development to your life worrying about what other people are going to say or do. You just have to do it and trust that you're doing the right thing. Because if you don't, you will just continue the status quo, and that may not be the right thing for you. So, Anyway, that really was the purpose of today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you later.